Well, it's that time of year again, folks. The Golden Ticket Awards have been handed out. How did Kings Island do? Hello, everybody. Alongside Don Helbig, I'm Ryan Sir, and this is Tower Topics.
Tower Topics is a podcast for Kings Island fans, by Kings Island fans, because that's who we are, and that's what we care about.
Yeah, so Golden Ticket's very important, but let's not start there. There's an elephant in the room, and a lot of people have been asking about it, but I'm going to leave the floor to you to share like a health update because a lot of people have heard. And why don't you tell us what you want to share?
Yeah, on August 30th, just out of nowhere, I was sitting at a table and reached down uh, to get my drink, and all of a sudden, just instant blurriness and that out of my left eye. I thought maybe my contact had moved around or had maybe fallen out, and quickly realized that wasn't the case. And as I tried to look around, um, I could tell it was still like light out a little bit, but it was like a big, smudge,
Mm-hmm.
right on my eye, and I just, couldn't see it, and went to got admitted to the University of Cincinnati ER, and for a couple of days they did every test imaginable that you can think of. I had CT scans, an MRI. They did tests to see, memory, if there's any memory loss kind of things. Because what they described after they did all their evaluations and everything was they declared it that I had what was called a stroke equivalent in my eye. And after, you know, 24, 36 hours, whatever it was, of just doing all these different tests, I came back in and, hate to be the bearer of bad news. You're not going to see again really out of your left eye.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, didn't go to your heart, didn't go to your brain. Could have been a lot worse. You could have been paralyzed on one side of your body and stuff. So I guess that was supposed to be the silver lining. Vision in the right eye, had some issues over the past year. I had a couple of those intravitreal shots to break up blood clots and that. So still, undergoing a number of different tests. I have what are they called, an echocardiogram coming up to see, where potential clotting in that might be. So still a lot of other things, determine, to what happened there, making sure it doesn't go somewhere else, trying to make sure it doesn't go to the right eye. But it's, definitely been a life-changing, situation. It happened, like I said, an instant with no warning signs or anything like that. It's, very difficult uh, to read things, very difficult to, even check like text messages or email. I've learned to use voice to text a lot over the last, week or so. So it's going to be my new way of life of doing those kind of things. Hopefully, some vision in that a little bit closer up, maybe with some like readers or an adjustment with my contact or something, I'll be able to get back to reading okay. I've been able to do a couple of the theme parks by Don blogs. That was not easy to do, placing in the photos and making sure everything was spelled right and all that. The Bengals game, my 20th season with the Bengals, working with the public relations team on game days, transcribing post game quotes. That was the first thing I really was thinking in terms of what I do. Was I going to be able to continue doing that? Because I love that job. I mean, the Bengals have all the places I've ever worked in my life. I would say the Bengals, they treat their people like family. That's been my favorite place, just because of the way the people there, who I work with and who I work for, have always treated me so well. So I wanted to make sure I could do that. I was able to get through it. At the Bengals were, they gave me Zach Taylor, so I was able to transcribe him. So I wasn't trying to, go back and forth with different players and different lines and that on my
Mm-hmm.
transcriptions. But it worked. It's, I can do it. I can do the blog. I can do the Bengals. We're going to be able to do this podcast. We're going to figure it out. There's going to be some rough patches, Not so much with this one because a lot of what you and I do with this one, Ryan, we're just talking from memory. We're talking from passion.
Right.
The attractions group, on the other hand, there are questions that we have in the show notes to ask our guests. There are the pick six, where there's news items where I'm going to have to figure out how to do that, going through and researching, trying to find those notes. I mean, that was hard.
Hmm.
It's kind of a little bit blurred, distorted, but I think those that will listen to, you know, those episodes will see that, we're finding a way to get it done. It just takes longer. It's a little harder. But, Ryan, at my age, I mean, I've been blessed, very fortunate. Never had anything go wrong. A lot of people are in a lot worse situations than what I'm going through right now. There was never a moment where I asked, like, why me? Why has this happened? Um, what am I going to do now? Kind of a thing. It was, okay, here's a situation. What am I going to do to make it work? And I'm still going to, find a way to be able to do what I always did. It's just going to be in a different way in some regards.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the number of people that have reached out to me through
Mm.
social media, text messages. Got a few phone calls. I don't know how they got my number, but got some phone calls, and I really appreciated that. And that really helped, especially with those first 72 to 100 hours.
Yeah. So, obviously, kind of horrifying situation. So, in the most Don Helbig way possible, you share this with me by sharing a tweet you texted me a tweet that you made talking about it. You weren't like, hey, this is what's going on. You shared a tweet with me. I thought that was very on brand for you. But
Yeah.
I saw a lot of people like in the comments for like the video because we made it no secret we recorded 2 weeks worth of videos because I was out of town during this whole thing, and people were commenting on them like, Don, you're in our thoughts and prayers and stuff like that. um so was there like, did a lot of people from the industry that we've connected with reach out or you
Yes.
know
Yes. Number of people from the different parks, some of the ones we've had on, like the attractions group, was able to go to the Golden Ticket Awards,
hmm
which is part of this episode here. But I was in Pittsburgh on Saturday. That was another thing that I was so looking forward to that. Being able to participate in that event, and especially since I was one of the ones that was a voter this year, so I had a hand in what was given out. So I wanted to be there. My wife drove me to Pittsburgh. I'm going to need some assistance with some things like that. Some driving around the neighborhood and everything has been okay. But trying to get on expressways and with the barrels and that, trying to make it out. Is it one lane? Is it two lanes? I don't know.
yeah.
Looking down the road yet, I'll get there, but I'm not there yet. But she drove me to Pittsburgh, and just a lot of people, that had either heard about it were coming up and talking to me, asking how I was doing. Very genuine and authentic with what they were saying, and then some of the other ones that it was the first time they were hearing it, and they were like, "I'm shocked to see you here." But that's me. I'm not going to lie down. My whole life I've battled, competed, and I'm going to keep on doing that.
So I did you hear a lot from like Kings Island people?
No,
Really? That's disappointing.
no, nobody from Kings Island has reached out by text, email, phone call to check in and see how I'm doing. There were a couple of people that either liked the initial post I made to let people know what happened, or they made a comment and just said, sorry to hear that, type of thing. But nobody, made a personal connection, and trying to reach out to me. But it was nice, other people around the industry did, and that meant a lot.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, so it's going to be an adaptation for you. Obviously, from the standpoint of the show, we're going to have to adapt as well, of how we operate, and we're still figuring that out. And but we're going to bring you the best possible product, and nothing like that has changed. So we're going to keep trucking. But let's get into the meat and the nitty gritty. So we're talking about Golden Ticket Awards. So you were there. I have never been to the Golden Ticket Awards. I really want to go.
It's Kennywood did a phenomenal job hosting this event. I mean, just
Mhm.
first class, all the way. The Amusement Today team, great job with everything.
Yeah.
Just really well done. The whole thing.
Yeah. So, but we're going to talk specifically about Kings Island's performance because Kings Island used to dominate best kids area for decades. I guess it was a couple decades at this point, almost 20 years
Just
or
about, yeah.
so. So the intention, obviously, I believe, was to win back the golden ticket with the Camp Snoopy
Yeah,
expansion.
high expectation, high hopes with that would, take it back, if not this year, in the next year. Um,
They were number two. And they did have movement. They're number three now. So it's Efflington. Is that the name of the park that moved up to number two?
yes, yeah, that was number two, and that was, a surprise. I did not expect them to win it. Number one, again, getting off to the start that they did with it. Construction wasn't completed in time for the start of the season. Was not completed in time for the American Coaster Enthusiast Spring Conference. So by the time it opened, it just wasn't off to the right start. So there's a variety of reasons for that. Then after people saw it, it wasn't, what the renderings and in the picture that was painted,
Mhm.
what this was going to be at all. The little play area with the kids, I think that was a little underwhelming for a lot of people that
Yeah.
you and I both have talked with, and also what we see on the different social channels, and so it just really was got to be a disappointment, if you're Kings Island, to be, what you were thinking last summer, to seeing that now you've fallen to number three. And with what's, coming down the road, Dollywood's not going to rest on its laurels. They're going to keep improving Wildwood Grove. You've got, the two Universal parks are now, number 4 and 5 for the kids area.
Yeah.
They weren't in that listing for the longest time. Universal snuck in there last year at number 5. But I remember when we were at IAPA
Mhm.
and we were both talking about how does this not, rank higher
Yeah.
in the Golden Ticket Awards. I mean, this is phenomenal. And if you're looking at Planet Snoopy, Camp Snoopy, just the kids here at Kings Island, if you want to be honest about it, it's not even the top in the top three, maybe in the company.
Right.
Um, King's Dominion
Mm.
could stake claim to that. Carowinds could stake claim to that. Canada's Wonderland could stake claim to that. So I think if this is their best foot forward was what they did this year, don't be surprised in a couple of years if they're not in that top 5 anymore.
Yeah. I mean, as new, well, I mean, I've always said I thought that Seuss Landing at Islands of Adventure is really the best kids area. It's very large. There's a lot to do. It's got an interesting theme. It's got a good dark ride. It's got interesting takes and stuff. I so I'm surprised that that one hasn't elevated. But the problem with them is they haven't added anything since they opened. Right? I mean, they have, but
Right.
nothing that puts them on the map. Now,
Correct.
the thing that's interesting is Snoopy Soapbox Racers didn't make the top five for anything, or not nominated. Depending
Not
on,
nominated at
yeah,
all. And
but
that was another one that, there's a lot of, excitement about that. And it's a great family ride. But that's all it is a ride. I mean, there's not any storytelling to it. There's not, the immersive queue line or anything like that, like you saw in some of the other ones that were nominated. And, it just, again, part of it too, with all of this is the awareness that was created for it outside of the backyard. Nobody's talking about Camp Snoopy. Nobody's talking about Snoopy Soapbox Racers. So I think the group that they, you know, chose to work with as their influencers, or who they were pitching news media stories, those kind of things to. It just didn't work out for them. They didn't get the impact uh, that they needed to get that nominated, just because it wasn't front and center with people. And we're not talking about the coaster enthusiasts. I mean, some of them have a vote, but not many of them. We're talking about, what about all the journalists around the
mhm,
industry that have a vote? How often, did you just, send them a press release and that was it? Did you ever pick up the phone to talk to them, invite them out? Just let them know that it was now open, or did you do any kind of testimonial type videos and put it on YouTube, on your, Facebook? Instagram, those kind of things where, it was actual guests, that not somebody you handpicked, to read a script for you, but it was actual, you know, writer reactions. Did you do that? I mean, look at Mystic Timbers. That was something that was done frequently
Hmm.
when that first opened up. Was getting every day going out and getting a couple of sound bites, from people, and that all traveled. And that's it had the during the off season. I mean, the whole campaign. What's in the shed got everybody talking about it. Had that not been what's in the shed, that hashtag, that ride does not win the golden ticket. It just because by the time it opened, there was so much excitement and anticipation. What's this going to be? That was on everybody's mind, not
Hmm.
just in Cincinnati and Dayton. I mean, it was if you were somebody that liked parks and lived in Colorado, it was on your mind. If you were a theme park journalist and you wrote for the Orange County Register, you were intrigued about Mystic Timbers. Snoopy Soapbox Racers didn't have that going for it. And you look at a ride very similar, Holiday World with Good Gravy, that was nominated in several categories. They won one, but that was everywhere from the time they announced it, throughout the summer, you know, and it wasn't just Good Gravy now open, buy a season pass. That wasn't the messaging. It was why people loved Good Gravy, what there was to like about it, why you needed to come experience this attraction. They did a great job of the storytelling, and as a result, it made it as a finalist in several categories.
Now, but before we go on, because we're going to talk about the performance in the other categories as well, but um, I can already see the comments lighting up. We're going to have park apologists saying the Golden Ticket Awards don't matter. It's only something for either industry people or enthusiasts or whatever. Um, I can tell from what you're telling me that that's not true. So, can you
That's
explain the
not true at all.
importance of the Golden Ticket Awards?
It does matter. It's bragging rights. There's a reason why all these parks that win put signage
Mm,
out on their parks. Even Cedar Point, they haven't won for a long time with best steel coaster, but yet there's still that thing about the years that it won the Golden Ticket Award for Millennium Force. So and they still have things in the park to tell you how many years it won the best park. So it does matter. It matters to the general managers. There's a lot of pride involved. Um, it's interesting when you win. These same people that say it doesn't matter say it matters. When it
hmm.
doesn't win, they turn their, it doesn't matter. It's just the enthusiasts. So yeah, it does matter. It's a big deal in the industry. And if you attend one of these, things, Ryan, you go there in a couple of years and attend the Golden Ticket Awards. I mean, you'll see it matters.
Well, I mean, to me, it's always been it's a very good marketability piece to hang your hat on. And now
Yeah.
there's some of these things that like Eat a Holiday World won the best interactive thing, and that's retroactive too because their Holidays in the Sky show is over. So if they bring it back, they can obviously do with that. But um, when Kings Island won Best Kids Area, that was all over the place. And can you tell
Oh
me
yeah.
from your experience, did you see that selling tickets? People would say, "I came from Detroit because Kings Island has the best kids area." I understand, and
It
things of that sort.
definitely it created a lot of awareness that Kings Island was more than just roller coasters. That it had something for everyone. It had something, for the families, and not only that, what they had was the best of the best.
Yeah. So some other points in there is so Kings Island was not nominated for best food, which I think is a travesty because Kings Island, I mean, despite the fact that, I've been very clear, 22 was their best year, declined a lot in 23, getting better in 24. It's still some of the best in the industry. And so
It
it's
is, and
such
I made
a
it
shame.
to a lot of parks this year, and in the last few years, and it's right up there. I mean, it's if it was number 5, you couldn't argue that it didn't belong there. I mean, it does, and I think when you're a member of that culinary team, and as hard as you work, and from the like I said, the director to the supervisors, the managers, the chefs, across the board. I mean, they all have put in a ton of work to really elevate the culinary experience at Kings Island. And for me, it's a little disheartening that they're not getting the recognition. It's amazing how good that food is and how nobody's talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, they keep on retiring categories. I wish they would do more. Like, I think Kings Island is definitely top 3 for like best pastries and stuff like that because I think that's unique because it's a food item, but it's also a work of art. It's fun to look at and to eat. And
Yeah,
I just got back from Disney. Disney has amazing pastries, but Kings Islands in a lot of cases sit on the same shelf as that. So I hope they would add something like that rather, because they seem to like get rid of categories a lot.
they do after a while, and it's good when they do that and they add some different things. But yeah, I mean, I think there's all kinds of different elements of the food experience that you could break it down to, and but I hope in the years ahead that they do get, as long as it goes in the same direction, that they get the credit that they're due and they end up making into that top five, as a nominee for best food, because I think based on my experience with it this year, they deserve it.
I think so too. So they last year they were ranked fifth for best guest experience. I'm sorry, this year they were finalists for best guest experience, but that's huge. I mean, unfortunately, that doesn't give the benefit of, because, like I said, Kentucky Kingdom's the only park that I've ever seen marketed for second best new ride of 2013 or whatever it was for Storm Chaser. But you can't market being the fifth best. But as far as patting yourself on the back, I think that's pretty cool.
When you look at how many theme parks, amusement parks, family entertainment centers there are in the world, and there's a lot, to be in the top five, I mean, yeah, that's something you got to feel really good about.
Yeah. So then, I've got the steel coaster rankings pulled up. So Diamondback is in a tie with Iron Rattler for 20th. Um, and then Orion was
Yeah,
43rd best steel coaster. So if you ever want a testament to like Orion, as far as like, is it a good Giga, or is it's twice as far down the list as Diamondback. Now, granted,
certainly not what they imagined when the decision was made to move forward with Orion.
yeah,
So I think there was the thought that would rank as one of the best, if not the best. Would be right up there with Fury 325, Millennium Force, and so to see it at number 43, again, if you're Kings Island, that's got to be a major disappointment with the investment that that ride was, continues to be. Diamondback 20. I mean, it not too long ago, it was number 9.
yeah,
So it was in that top 10. So still good to see in the top 20. Uh, but yeah, there's a great disparity between where Diamondback is at 20 and Orion at 43.
yeah. So I've got the Amusement Today website pulled up, and just tell me if you've written this, yes or no, if you think they're better than Diamondback. Some of these I think are fair. Fury 325, I would say that most people think it is. Then Velocicoaster, do you think that's better than Diamondback?
Yes,
Okay. Steel Vengeance,
different type of ride, but overall, yeah, you're not going to have too many people that are going to take Diamondback over that.
Millennium Force,
It's not better Millennium Force now.
okay. Iron Gwazi.
I would take it over Iron Gwazi.
There's Terran
That's
at
just me though.
Fantasia Land in Germany. Let's skip that. Ride to Happiness. Neither of us have ridden that, but I've heard amazing things about that. Zandra at Energylandia in Poland. Expedition G Force. I've always heard amazing things about that. Do you think it's better than Maverick? Maverick's number 10.
Yes,
You think that Diamondback's better than Maverick?
I do.
Okay.
Different type of ride, but yeah,
No, no, no. I'm not doubting you. I'm just clarifying. Then
yeah. For me, it is. Yeah.
Voltron Navera at Europa Park. Superman the Ride at Six Flags New England. That's 12th. Is that better than Diamondback?
I would lean a little bit towards Superman the Ride.
Okay. What about Leviathan at Canada's Wonderland?
That's better.
You think so?
I think so.
I haven't ridden it, but I've always heard that they're very similar. But I've never heard that it's like, because this is 13th and Diamondback's 20th. So I've never heard that big of a separation. We're taking up a lot of time with this, but some of the other ones that beat out Diamondback are Project 305, which I think is arguable, because if you're an enthusiast, I would say yes. If you're an average person, then no. Phantom's Revenge, I think we'll both agree is a yes.
Yes.
Fly, at Fantasialand. I've heard good things, but we'll leave that on the table. Airy Force One, a lot of buzz around that one. Um,
A lot of buzz, but I think that is one that maybe as time goes on, it'll drop down a little bit.
there's
You
a
know,
lot of
kind of the rage.
yeah.
Yeah, kind of the rage of the past couple of years, but I think that one will drop down as the years go by.
Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. Have you been on that yet?
Yes.
Okay. Great ride. From a ride
Yeah.
standpoint, I don't think it's better than Diamondback. I think that
Not as a ride, not as a
as a
ride, but it's a
package
total
it
package.
is. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's a total package.
right.
And you have to put and when you're voting for these things and you're looking at the poll, I mean, you have to put the entire package in there. It's not just the ride. It's got to be the entire package.
Yeah, so from there, ranking just above Diamondback is Mako. Now, Mako, I think, is a matter of opinion, because Mako reminds me of Diamondback in some ways. I think it's a little bit more intense. I think Diamondback for me edges it out a little bit because of the environment and how drawn out it is. But Mako has the better trains, in my opinion, with the four across.
Yes.
But here's the weird thing about it. So you talk about the entire package. Uh, Below Diamondback and Iron Rider are tied for 20th, and then you got Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure and Lightning Rod tied for 22nd. Um, that it's an apples and oranges comparison, but I still think that it's weird. And then Apollo's Chariot's 25. I think Diamondback is leagues ahead of Apollo's Chariot at Bushwick
Not yeah, I
23rd.
don't think that one's, right there with Diamondback. No, for me there's a big difference between those two.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so obviously the other one is the Beast, which the Beast is third between Phoenix. Phoenix seems to win every year. I have
It
not ridden
does,
that. I've heard it's
and
amazing.
it's amazing. Nostalgia plays a part in that.
Hmm.
You have the buzz bars,
Uh-huh.
so don't underestimate the buzz bars when it comes to votes because there's just not many of those coasters out there now, and that really enhances the airtime, the moment's airtime that you get on the Phoenix. But it warrants being that top three at least for the Phoenix, no matter how you want to vote. I mean, it's either one, two, or three on just about everybody's list. Voyage number two, again, one, two, three on just about everybody's list.
Hmm.
I think seeing the Beast, 45 years old, you normally don't see coasters like that jumping up. So
Right.
to see that where it is, I think it's the work that the Gravity Group did on it. The past couple years, there's been a lot of the well traveled. Whether they're enthusiasts, journalists, anyone that has kind of a say in these awards. They've had an opportunity over the past couple of years to write it again. And their opinions certainly changed from what it might have been when they wrote it 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Hmm.
So I felt really good about I was excited to see the Beast at number three. Felt great for the Gravity Group. Great for the maintenance staff at Kings Island. Um, you know, there's no argument from me that it's a top three. Seeing Mystic Timbers get to number five,
Hmm.
that's a ride that I felt every year it was going to inch closer to the top. The more that the well-traveled, people get to Kings Island and ride it, the higher it's going to go. There's still a lot of people riding it for the first time that have a vote. So I think that one, I could see that at number four, or pushing for number three next year.
Perfect. Hey, we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. All right. So the other thing that was kind of note is that uh, Kings Island was voted number 5 for best park in 2023. Was not nominated this year. So I can tell you that my theory. I'm going to tell you my theory, and then I'll ask for the other side of it from you, Don. But
Yeah,
my theory is that they number 5 was probably run off from the 2022 season because again that was Kings Island at its absolute best. And then it earned its number 5 spot, if not higher. But why do you think that it fell off this time?
well, I think you were spot on there. That it was kind of a carryover effect from the 2022 season with their 50th anniversary, all the things they did, for that. Everything was so well done. I think that nighttime show, what was the driver for all the different things that were happening for the 50th anniversary was kind of the star of it all. So yeah, I mean, when you're voting in 2023, if you didn't visit Kings Island last year, I mean, you're still thinking about that 50th anniversary season you either visited or you heard from other people. So you're still going to give it a vote. But going into 2024, I mean, you didn't really hear a lot about Kings Island. unless it was, maybe some of the local news channels, maybe did some stories about some things, but it wasn't, people all over talking about Kings Island like they did in 2022, and then that carrying over into 2023.
Yeah, what's funny though is as much as I'd love to sit here and say like, oh, they had the ride rotations last year and the budget cuts and all that
Well, you
stuff.
you carry momentum in these kind of things with awards. I mean, it can carry over. You can give you a 2 or 3 year extra run, on
What?
some things. You look at, Cedar Point. For many years, they, were voted best park. They had some personnel changes, and they still got it one more year, but never since.
Yeah,
And now they're not even in the top five. Where they
right.
were number two for a couple years and number three. But now they're not even there. So it carries over for a little bit. If you're number one for several years in a certain category, you might get it another year or two longer than you probably should have, just because of the reputation, that you were number one. So benefit of the doubt, if they weren't sure who to vote for, they might vote for you again. So those kind of things can carry over. I think that's what happened in 2023, and that's why they were, voted, nominated, finishing number five, and then nothing this year. That momentum was gone.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's hard to reconcile. Um, so not nominated for best park, but was nominated in fifth for best guest experience. I
Yeah,
feel
no,
like the
guest
two
experience,
are almost.
that they're kind of relatable in a lot of ways. I think sometimes too, you get those reputations for best guest experience, based on maybe different events that you do. So it might be a coaster enthusiast events that can help you, land in those spots and stay in those spots for several years. It can be, just the different, uh, maybe the different ways that, it's great for families. You're known as a big family park, so that's going to make it friendlier than something that's just more thrill seekers, oriented. So there's a lot of different things that play into it. I think it's uh, great that they were nominated for best guest experience. I know they work exceptionally hard at that. I know there's sometimes, you see different things where, people don't think that they're trying, or, that because of some of the budget cuts, they think that impact, but budget cuts have nothing to do with them trying. I mean, they want everybody that comes there to have a great day. They want it to be the best day of the year experience. And I think you look around at each of the different departments that Kings Island has, everyone there wants it to be the best that it can be based on what they have to work with.
Mhm.
So, I was excited for them that they were, nominated for best guest experience.
Yeah. Um, Hopefully, moving forward with the merger and the rearview mirror. Um, the thing though is like, when we talk about, let's go back to 2022 again. Like, I, that was a top three guest experience year. With just
Yeah,
all
but
the stuff that was
you
offered.
were coming off years before though, where,
Yeah.
I mean, what was there before that to make you vote for them, right? So there's a
Well,
lot of
yeah.
different factors involved that and word of mouth, travels. Like I said, it's not the locals voting for this. I mean, it's people from all over
Mhm.
that are well versed. They go to a lot of parks. If they're not at that park that particular year, they're certainly paying attention to what people are saying. They're talking to other journalists. They're talking to other people, manufacturers, suppliers, everybody that uh, deals with it. I mean, you look at Coca Cola. They're in a lot of parks around the country, right? Well,
Yeah.
people at Coca Cola are talking, to different people about which parks they have a good relationship with, which ones maybe they don't. So I mean, all those little things factor into all these kind of things. So it's pretty widespread. But I think just being nominated in any category, you're happy with that because it's tough. I mean, look how many parks are out there. I mean, it is tough just to get a nomination to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest though, in a lot of cases, and then there are some exceptions like Knoebels, obviously, but there's an economy of about 40, 45 parks that have any chance of winning these things in the United States. Now, with that being said, the real competition's coming out of Europe now. Because
Yes,
now
they've
maybe
made big
not winning.
strides.
Yeah, I maybe not winning all the time. I mean, Europa Park was a big breakthrough, but um, you know, best culinary or whatever, seeing a European park place third or second or
Yeah,
something, it just shows you it's a small world after all, Don. It's a small
it
world
is. It is.
after
It's an
all.
international industry.
It sure is. Don, tell me about the t-shirts.
Tower Topics t-shirts. They come in a Carolina blue. They're $22. That includes shipping. If you're interested in one, come in any size you need. You just want to send us a direct message on our X, which is tower_topics. We'll send you the QR code to make your purchase, and we'll get those shirts out to you within a matter of days. Now, I do want to say there's been, some people that ordered their shirts, and we're just now getting to that point of getting them back out because, as we mentioned at the top of the show, was derailed a little bit the past, couple of weeks. But getting back on track there, and I know I've got to run to the post office tomorrow to take several packages of shirts. So if you ordered one, since August, say 30th, and you haven't got yours yet, it's on the way.
That was the next thing you were going to do before things went down, right? It was like that was you were going to finish
Yes.
your coffee. No, or you're going to finish your
I don't
Mountain
drink
Dew in your
coffee.
case.
No.
Yeah, I corrected
Well,
myself.
in this case, it was a Gatorade I was reaching for when I looked down, and all of a sudden I couldn't see anymore. So I always remember that every time I have a Gatorade now.
You should sue Gatorade. All right. Yeah, $22 including shipping. Great deal. We love seeing around the parks. We'll be right back with the listener questions. All right, first listener question. Tammy H from Hamilton, Ohio. I really enjoyed the listener stories episodes. They beautifully capture what Kings Island means to so many people. That being said, do you plan to do more with those in the future?
Yeah, I think so. I think the one thing, is the two episodes ran. I mean, there was 17, 18, 19 stories in each one. I think that might be a little bit long, but we
Mhm.
did get a lot of positive feedback about that. So we definitely want to incorporate that. I mean, this show, again, it's for Kings Island fans. We want to make you part of it. I think it would be something that we would maybe put two or three or four, maybe in, at the end of episodes to kind of tie that into. I don't know if we would do like back to back full stories on it, but yeah, I think that's something moving forward. We'll continue to look to do that.
Yeah, it was fun to do. And it was fun to see the correlations when we talked about it's not about the rides, it's not about the shows, it's
Yeah.
about the memories and the people. And it seems like the stories have been, nobody, very few people were like, my best memory is this ride I got on the Beast or whatever. It's like I went there with my dad or I met my boyfriend, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it'll be one of those things that'll depend on how much Ryan wants to read too, because reading is kind of a challenge for me at the moment right now. But yeah, we definitely loved sharing your stories, and we want to do more of that.
We could do like a stage play based on people's stories since you can't really read them right now. You could wear an earpiece, like who was it? Like Sean Connery toward
Yeah,
the end started wearing an earpiece because he couldn't memorize his lines.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. Whatever it takes, right?
yeah, right.
We'll find a way to get. That's what I'm resourceful. We'll find a way to get it done. That's what I
we
do.
right. All right, next listener question. Casey Wade J, I guess you have it as. Trotwood, Ohio. Question for Don. We hear about and saw the great promotional campaigns and the successes you've had, but you didn't get great without learning from some less than great work. Did you ever have something that may not have worked right? And what did you learn from it?
Well, that's a great question. You're right. There's always a lot of learnings along the way. You're always learning. That's how you get better each time you do something different. I think one of the things that really helped, especially once I started doing social media, and also the same thing applied with PR, was, um, just learning your audience. Who you're trying to reach. When's the best time to reach them? So there was a lot of I was prepared anytime there was a different campaign. There was a purpose for every social post that I did, every story that I pitched to the media. So just being prepared was very helpful. But in terms of things that didn't work out so well and learning experiences from that was, sometimes there's just so much going on at the same time, and they want all of that packaged into one pitch to the media, one social post, and it's, trying to put 10 pounds in a 5 pound bag. And when you do that, that was a learning that it, just everything kind of missed because there was just too much for people to digest with what you were trying to do. So some of those kind of posts early on didn't have the success that ones later on did after it kind of got more simplified. And what I learned to do with that was, real quickly was the target audience isn't the marketing director. It's not the general manager. It's not the corporate team. It's not the brand team. That's not your audience. We want to see this. We want to see that. And that's not who you're targeting. You're targeting, fans of the park. So it was deciding that the social media posts were for the audience, not the brand team, not the marketing director, not the GMs. And when I did it that way, it had much, much more success. It led to more traffic to the website. It led to more season passes being sold, more dining plans, more everything else, just because there's more traffic there. But when things were bundled all together and you're trying to get in all these different messages, it just didn't work as well. So that was kind of the biggest learning was to just, what's most important and focus your thing around that. And yeah, with season passes, I think at this time of the year, if you buy a pass, there's all those different things with it. If you're renewing, you renew by this date, you get to bring a friend, you get this, you get front of the line. I mean, there's too many messages there, right? To try to package and everything. So for something like that, their learning was don't put all of that in there. Just talk about, passes are now on sale. Big message, best price you're going to find. And then when they go to the website to renew, then they see all those other benefits that are there. But you're still getting more traffic to the website because you didn't lose them. And when you're trying to say your media comes out and you're trying to talk about something, special event, Grand Carnival, so many things were going on. So make sure you're talking about use your gold pass, renew your pass, before gold goes away, and make sure you're talking about the food. Make sure you're talking about the different events. Make sure you're talking about the entertainment. Make sure you're talking about the parade. And they want us all bundled into one little thing. So just to simplify that, not try to put 10 pounds in a 5 pound bag. That was the key learning, was just less was more.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's oh, I remember you telling me about the whole like you want to make a post about Halloween Haunt, and it's like, oh, make sure you mention season passes or whatever. And it's like, well, you're gonna lose the post about Haunt if it's a post about season passes, and a
Yeah,
post about season passes doesn't hold as much water as a post about
no,
Haunt.
and it's the same thing. Like you look at the post throughout the year. Camp Snoopy new for 2024. Buy your silver pass. Snoopy Soapbox Racers, Camp Snoopy now open. Buy your silver pass. You weren't there was the narrative. There wasn't a story there telling you why you wanted to come experience these things. It was just it became so sales driven. Everything was buy your pass, but you weren't telling them why they should get a pass other than it's open. That's great, it's open. But what is it about that makes me want to buy a pass? You never saw those kind of stories being done, whether it's through their shared channels, social media, or their blog, YouTube. You could have done a lot of different things with that. So I think that's the kind of thing that you get more when you're not trying to do the sales pushes. Now I knew this too going into it, that if they couldn't check the box that I hit on all these, gold pass and all the different benefits, early ride time, free parking, all those other things, discounts on meals and merchandise, and that wasn't all bundled in those posts. I knew that down the road, I was going to get dinged for that, for not doing that. Even though the numbers would be higher, they would not give the credit for that post or anything, even though you could put the traffic was so much higher. Look at the revenue from this post, but they couldn't attribute it to Gold Pass because you weren't talking about all the benefits. So they tried to push it off somewhere else. But then but I also knew if I did all those kind of messagings and things that, I was going to get dinged a lot earlier because the numbers weren't going to be as good. So it was either, pay for it now or pay for it later, right? So I chose to be, to defer it and take the hits later on down the line because, the checklist, wasn't going to be there on every single post, because I learned that at the end of the day, it's about getting the traffic to the website, it's about getting the passes sold, the tickets sold, the dining plan sold. And the best way to do that was to just, make it a more engaging narrative, less sales messaging, and just kind of focused on the key point, what was important, what mattered. So for season pass, what mattered was this is the best price you're going to get. So now's the time to do it. So that's what the focus became. So those are the learning things. So it's a great question. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, and I do see like I've seen the difference in style between, and not particularly Kings Island, but really the whole chain, because the whole, brand marketing,
Well,
whatever.
you probably have is and this is in a lot of places, not just the Six Flags chain now, but it's you have people in these positions that have no idea on how you're really supposed to use social media. They see it as a sales tool, not a connection. Connecting with your audience, creating the right narratives and just telling these stories about your attractions and that are going to rekindle memories. And then when they do those kind of things, they want to come back. I can tell you the best season pass post that I ever made was back in 2015. And at that time of the year, it was coming up toward the season pass deadline. And I heard about it because it wasn't season pass focused enough. But yet the numbers showed otherwise, that we sold more passes off that one post than anything we'd ever done on social media up to that point and ever since. But it was just something about it was a video of the beast, and it just had it from all different kind of angles, and it said come ride the beast, as the world's longest wooden roller coaster as often as you want, whenever you want, with a golden season pass. But there wasn't a golden pass, uh, logo, slapped over top of the video or anything like that. No messaging in there about buying a seat, just a link. Not even saying buy now, nothing like that, just a link. And that got lots and lots of people. But it was, why didn't you post about season? I did. That's not a season pass post. That's a beast post. No, it's a post saying if you buy a season pass, you can ride it whenever you want, as often as you want, and here's the numbers. Well, they only clicked on that because it's about the beast. Well, yeah, because they're interested in riding and they want to come more often than once, so they go buy a pass. So the numbers showed that it sold a lot of passes, but the credit wasn't there for that being a season pass post because it didn't say spell out season pass like that. So those are the different kind of things that you learn, that
Yeah.
you're gonna sell more, and that would be something that they don't, when you're in that chair and you're just looking down, you see everything from a marketing point of view. Everything has to be, you're trying to make sure you're selling passes, selling tickets. You're not thinking about engaging your audience. You're not thinking about rekindling those memories. For somebody that might have said, man, remember how much fun we had riding the beast? We need to go back there again. That's going to sell more tickets than just using a picture of the beast and saying Kings Island now open by a season pass.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think that that's going to be um an effective sales message anyway, because people pick up, if you're subtle, if you're sly about the sales message, it's a lot more effective
Yeah,
than.
but it's, now you're seeing it's probably like 80% is sales promotional, 20, and that's just the wrong way to do it. I mean, you sell more passes and tickets, inspire more visits through storytelling than you do pitching sales messages. And that's just something that you pick it's not just the theme park. I mean, you pick whatever, and when they're in the corporate positions, that because they were never that person. They never did. They weren't PR people. They weren't social media people. They weren't connecting with audiences. They were looking at audiences through demographics. You know, there's a difference between looking at the demo and saying, oh, this percentage is moms and this percentage is this and that, than actually knowing who these people are and finding ways to engage with them and get them excited about what you have to offer. We're getting
Yeah.
way off way off the track here, but no, I mean, it's a good question, and those are the kind of things that I enjoyed doing, was being a little unconventional, with it, and putting myself in the shoe of, if I was the person at the news station and I received this release, why is it important? Why does my audience care? Or whether I was doing social media, I wanted to be the person. If this came up in my feed, am I going to click on it or am I going to move on?
Right.
So that's the way I looked at it. I made it about the audience, like what mattered to them to make it work. And I think that's a learning experience too. And that's why campaigns became more successful. The more I got into social media, the more I learned, what was the right way to do it and what was maybe not the most effective way to do it. Um, but yeah.
So the question was, did you learn anything? And I guess the
Yeah,
answer is
we
yes.
just talked. We just gave the answers. Yeah, I learned. I learned early on. The moral of the story is: do not put 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag because it will not get the results that you're looking for.
It will not hold 10 pounds worth of water. It will not hold water. Okay. Awesome. Hey, I'm Ryan Sir along with Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.